All right. Hey, Sarah, I'm so glad you can make time to just come with me on this Zoom meeting and talk about gut health. You're my go-to girl. I really trust you because of your background and what you've been through personally. I think that even speaks just as much volume, but you know, your education, all that. So I'm going to ask you to give your background a little bit and what got you started in health and really wanting to know more about how to have excellent health.
Okay, thanks, Nat. How I got into health really is my husband was sick for 4.5 years, and we didn't really know what was going on with him. He had lots of different symptoms from migraines to extreme fatigue, joint pain, vertigo, nauseous every day. And we exhausted every avenue in Canada trying to figure out what was wrong with him. We saw several different specialists and doctors, and no one could figure out what was wrong with him. So when I joined Usana, through you and Diane talking about Sonavive, I finally decided to bring Troy to Sonavive because he was only getting progressively worse. Nothing was improving, and all the doctors just kept feeding him more and more pills. So when we went down to Sonavive, they're the ones who figured out what was wrong with him, which was amazing. It was the most amazing experience. And I just wanted to show you some pictures to kind of give you an idea of how our gut really is super duper important to our health, our overall health, and how food, what we put into our mouths, can really affect our health. So when we first went to Sonavive, they did a live blood analysis. So what they do is they just cut your finger like a diabetic kind of thing, put your blood on a slide, and they cover it up so it's still, it doesn't dry up. And then they put your blood underneath a microscope. And then you could actually see, can you see that? His cells. So if you can see his cells, they're all clumped together like stacked coins. So his body was not breathing, basically. He was not absorbing any nutrients from the food or supplements that he was taking. And you could tell there was lots of inflammation in his body. So they should have been spread out, but they weren't. So from going through some testing and taking foods out of his diet and completely changing his diet, within 2 weeks, they said that we wouldn't see much of a difference. But as you can see, it was a week and a half, you could see his cells, how they were already spread out from removing a lot of different foods out of his diet. Then he went back 3 months later after we were on that diet, and you could see his cells look even better.
Oh my God, that is awesome. I've not seen these yet. That's amazing.
No, yeah. So just to show you how food can play a part in your diet. So when we went there, we found out that he had 13 different food intolerances as well as heavy metal poisoning. So the phase 2 of his liver, there's a genetic problem with it that no one knew. So the phase 2 of his liver does not detoxify his body properly. So therefore he basically has more toxins in his body. That's why none of the heavy metals are getting out. So he's more toxic of a person. So we have to make sure that we're feeding him properly, that he's eating foods that suit his body, and then constantly detoxing on a regular basis so his body isn't accumulating all these heavy metals all the time. My son Jaden was the same thing. He was premature. He was 7 weeks premature. They always kept saying he would catch up on his milestones. He just wasn't. He was 3 years old. They wanted to put him in school to catch him up with his milestones, and he just wasn't catching up. Just from knowing Troy's background, and my son Jaden is exactly like him, and I started taking some nutrition courses, I decided for myself that I was going to take him off gluten and dairy for sure to see if that made a difference. And within 1 school year, he went from severely delayed to average in 1 school year just from changing his diet.
Let's just pause quickly here. So in 1 school year, Jaden goes from severely delayed to normal, all because you took out gluten and dairy.
Yeah, huge. Which it was funny because even I remember his OT asking me, you must have been working really hard with him because it's amazing how far he's come along. And I said, I've done nothing with him at home. I said, I just took gluten and dairy out of his diet. And she looked at me like I had 3 eyes. But even going to school and learning, most kids, they might have symptoms of autism when really they have a gluten intolerance. And when I read those symptoms, Jaden had 5 out of the 7 symptoms. He had brown spots on his teeth, and I was going to the dentist all the time, and they kept wanting to give him fluoride, and I don't believe in fluoride. thinking that we weren't brushing his teeth. Well, that's a symptom of a gluten intolerance, that, the brown spots. Now that he has no gluten, his teeth are perfectly white and normal.
Wow.
So there's a lot of signs that your body's giving you that most people aren't realizing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm really passionate about what we feed our bodies, especially now. Like my diet has changed a lot too. So if you want to be healthy, if you want to lose weight, if you want to have lots of energy, if you don't want to get any diseases, even if you might have diseases that run in your family like diabetes, even arthritis, autoimmune diseases, all diseases begin in the gut. So if your gut is unhealthy, most likely you're going to get something along the way. It doesn't happen overnight, but it depends how sensitive you are and to how many different foods you're eating. So for example, Troy has 13 different food intolerances. Jaden, unfortunately, is the most unfortunate out of all of us. He has 15. My daughter has 10, and this is all done through a blood test. And then I was tested, and I literally have I think 4, nothing serious at all. So it really depends even where you come from. Like Troy, Jaden, and Brielle are all very similar in what they're all intolerant to. So it does kind of have a genetic component to it as well.
So as a part of this journey, so going to Sonavive, which by the way is Dr. Wentz's medical clinic, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you after. But that was a really big game changer for you, wasn't that? On many levels. I mean, just
yes.
from your health to your personal to just your spiritual, all of those great things. I know you shared some stories with me. Now that you've got your health coach.
Yeah, I'm a holistic health coach.
Holistic health coach. Okay. So you took a course, integrative nutrition course out of New York, took a year to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen you when you came here to go to convention, you were busy listening to some other people that you follow on my couch while I was frantically packing and getting ready. So you're always learning, and that's what I appreciate about you. You don't need to have a bunch of credentials after you for me to follow you, but it's so personal for you, so it makes it real for I think me, and you're so passionate about finding answers. So let's move on and talk about what causes poor digestion and what are some of the symptoms people should be looking for.
So what causes poor digestion? Well, many of us are busy, so we're constantly shoving foods down our throats and we're not really chewing them. We're eating a lot of processed foods. We eat a lot of sugar because, again, we're eating a lot of processed foods. Not too many people really cook as much as they used to. Even our food that we get has tons of pesticides and chemicals on it. That damages our gut as well. Stress, we're so busy now. There's so many people stressed out. That damages it as well. Even food intolerances, like we were talking about, allergies. If you're constipated, if your colon is impacted with toxins and you're not pooping on a regular basis, that affects your digestion, of course. Well, basically you're not digesting your food, so it's all getting impacted into your colon. Alcohol, medications, antibiotics, there's a whole pile of things that contribute to damaging our gut. Okay, great. What are some symptoms that, so constipation or diarrhea, that could be another symptom, correct? The opposite. Absolutely. So while we're on the subject, what's a healthy poo look like? A healthy poop, it should be shaped like a banana. It should be like a walnut kind of brown color. And it should be smooth. If there's cracks in it, then you know that you're not drinking enough water. You're dehydrated. If you're having pellet poops, then you know, again, you're dehydrated and you're not eating enough fiber. If it's more white or yellow in color, then you know you're not absorbing anything from your supplements or your food, even the nutrition in your food, because, again, it's just going right through you. Again, if it's more loose, then you know you're eating something that is not mixing well with your body. You should not have loose stool. It should always be well formed.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Wow.
And 1 to 3 times a day. You should be pooping 1 to 3 times a day.
Good.
Most people think every second or third day is normal now because no one poops. No, you need to be pooping 1 to 3 times a day.
Yeah. And I remember Brielle on your last video on how to make kale chips, sharing 1 to 3.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, how do you heal your gut? What are the 7 points
to healing your gut? So first of all, just being mindful when you eat. Again, try not to eat in your car. I know it's sometimes hard because digestion begins in the brain. Most people think it begins in your mouth, but it begins in your brain. So if you're mindful of what you're eating, so if you can imagine like a lemon, when you think of a lemon, And you can picture it, or even when you're sitting in front of a lemon, your mouth starts to water. So you're creating enzymes. Those enzymes are going to coat your food and help to digest your food. If you're watching TV, if you're driving, if you're not mindful of what you're eating, then you're not going to produce the enzymes in your mouth to help digest your food.
So being mindful and appreciative and, enjoying your food, being present with it, having that relationship with it is the first thing, because it releases enzymes that start the brain's going, okay, this is great. We're going to start eating now.
Yeah.
It kicks into gear the good things we need for digestion already.
Yes. Especially when we're eating cooked foods. Cooked foods have less enzymes in them because we've cooked them out. So therefore, you need those enzymes to help digest your food. So
beautiful.
The main thing for sure.
Okay, beautiful.
I always like to start, like I try my best to start my day. I don't do it every day. I need to get better on that for sure. But mostly every day I start my day with a glass of warm lemon water. So I juice half a lemon. And then I also add in about 2 to 4 ounces of aloe vera juice. So the lemon juice itself, when you're doing that, it's going to help rev up your metabolism, and it's going to rev up the acid in your stomach. You need your stomach to be acidic to help to digest that food, to break it down. Most people's stomachs are, they're not acidic. Like they don't have that digestive fire to help break it down. Whereas our bodies need to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Not acidic, but what's that word? You don't want your body to be acidic. And most people's body, like outside the
pH balance, are you talking about neutral, or are you talking about it's basic neutral acidic?
Yeah, you want it to be neutral. When it's not, when your body, most people's bodies are acidic because of the food we're eating. So from the alcohol, the medications, the processed foods, the sugars, it makes our body very acidic, which is not good, causing a lot of inflammation. So lemon will help balance out that pH level in your body as well. The aloe vera juice, again, if you're constipated or having problems going to the bathroom, it is just going to lube up that area to help you go to the bathroom a bit better.
Gotcha. Is there a particular brand of aloe vera juice that you would recommend?
So I'm still doing more research on it, because I know there's the aloe vera juice that you could buy in stores. It doesn't taste very good. Okay. I buy a distilled kind. It's George's, I think is the brand, George. And I've asked even the health food store people, I'm like, is there a difference because it's distilled and there's no flavor to that one, if it has any less like health benefits? And they said, no, it's the same. So as far as I know, it's the same. Until I know any different, I'll let you know. But that's the kind I use, because again, I don't taste it, because aloe vera juice, it doesn't taste that great.
Right. Okay. Perfect. All right. Number 3.
Number 3, you want to avoid drinking water with your meals, or any liquids really. So people, I remember weight loss plans used to tell you, like, drink a whole bunch of liquids with your meal, so then you'll eat less and then you'll lose weight. It's like the worst thing you could possibly do. When you are drinking water, for example, with your meal, you are putting out your digestive fire in your stomach. So imagine you have a fire in your belly digesting your food, and you're pouring water literally on that fire. Well, of course you're dampening it, and you're not going to digest your food properly, because the acid is not going to be where it should be at to digest your food.
Yeah, I have gotten into the habit of not drinking now with my meals for that exact reason, and it's really supporting me feeling not as bloaty and yucky after eating. That's now that my body's changing, getting a little older, I'm noticing things are a bit different. But I've done that now, and I don't miss it. It's like anything, just to get used to it. People go, oh, I can't live without that. And it's like, well, try it. You don't know it until you can prove it to yourself, right?
And that's true. And even if you are thirsty, like if you can drink water 30 minutes before you eat a meal, that's even better.
Yeah.
Because then you're just getting your stomach revved up that, okay, food is coming. And if you do have really poor digestion, you could also add in, again, lemon juice 30 minutes before a meal, or you could do apple cider vinegar. I like to do lemon because apple cider vinegar is not a flavor I particularly love. Or you could do the digestive enzymes too, which we'll get to.
Yeah. Okay, keep going. You're doing awesome.
Food combining is really important too. So if you feel like, if you have a lot of bloating and gas, if you're belching a lot, indigestion, if you feel like you have heartburn all the time, those are signs that you're not digesting your food properly. So people who say I have acid reflux, I produce too much acid, that it's totally opposite. Your body is trying to compensate for it. So it's trying to produce more acid. And the more like antacids people are taking, the more your stomach is trying to produce more acid. It's just a vicious cycle. So that's a whole other subject, but those are just signs again that your digestive system isn't working properly. So food combining could be something that you can think about to try and improve your digestion. So for example, starches like your potatoes, your rice, your pastas, they don't really go with anything. Like they don't really go with, they could go with vegetables if you wanted to, but they don't go with proteins. Like the best way would be proteins, and your vegetables would be great. You should never eat fruit with anything else. Like a fruit salad is actually not good for you, because fruits they digest super quickly, and they all digest differently, like at different speeds. So melons never should be eaten with other fruits because they digest so quick, and you should never mix melons. They either say, I know in the holistic arena, because they are hard to digest and they do upset a lot of guts, you either eat melons on their own or just leave them alone completely. With fruit, you want to eat one at a time. Like don't mix all the berries. If you could just eat one berry at a time, that will benefit you a little bit more. Also, when you're eating a meal, so say you are eating everyone eats proteins, carbs, like a starch and vegetables. So say you're eating that for a meal. The best way to eat that so it digests properly is to eat your vegetables first, because those are going to digest first, like the quickest. You're trying to think of layers in your stomach. So you eat your vegetables, then you eat your starches, because then those will digest a little bit quicker afterwards. Like the vegetables will quickest, and then the starches, and then the proteins would be last, because protein takes the longest. If you eat a steak first and then you eat your vegetables last, your vegetables are going to start fermenting in your gut, because they're going to already be starting to digest. And so that's where you're going to get the extra gas and bloating, because it's still working on digesting that protein.
And that makes sense, because that heavy feeling after a steak, you just feel so heavy because it's just lugged. It's like in there gurgling, and especially if you don't chew it well, and all the things we know to do to help the digestion. But yeah, you throw a potato and some broccoli, steamed broccoli on there, and you got a little storm happening.
You do, and you'll start noticing. Most people don't realize it, but once you become aware of it, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm feeling that now.
Yeah.
So, same with fruit. True. Like how many people leave their fruit for dessert? And I used to be guilty of that. Well, you eat a big steak and then you're having this fruit for dessert thinking you're doing really good. Well, then you're getting all like gassy and crampy maybe. And that's from the fruit, like the sugars of the fruit fermenting, because again, it's wanting to digest, but it's still working on that steak, which takes hours to digest.
Right. Gotcha. Good. Okay. Good point. Number 5.
Probiotics. Probiotics are huge. So in our gut, they're made up of good and bad bacteria. We need a good balance between the good and the bad bacteria. And for most people, they don't know that our immune system is located in our gut. 75% of our immune system is located in our gut. So if those are not balanced, the good and the bad bacteria, you're more susceptible to getting colds and flus, or, not feeling well overall. So because we live in such a toxic environment, and of course, none of us eat perfect every single day, we are constantly damaging our good bacteria. So we need to help out our good bacteria and re-inoculate that. So probiotics are a good form of that. So go ahead.
So would you say that's a staple with your clients? Like you just be on, here's a box of probiotics, you take those every month, or keep going until you die?
Yeah, I do. Like I know I try to get them to take it as regular as they possibly can, right?
Yeah.
And depending on how bad their gut is, I'll maybe start them to do it like for 2 weeks straight every single day.
And the best way to take it is, what would you recommend?
I like how my kids take it. I give it to them on applesauce and put it in their mouths. Whatever time of the day that I get it in them, that's what happens.
Yeah.
For probiotics, though, what I've heard 2 different versions. One, you're supposed to take it with food. Another one, you're supposed to take it on an empty stomach. I'm still studying. I've got new books to figure out all that. But I just take it when I remember. So if I like to take it in the mornings, because that's when I usually remember. If you are going to mix it in a shake, because that's what I usually do, you should never blend them because they're very fragile, the bacteria. So you always want to just stir them in.
Right.
Or you could just like, like our sticks, you can just shove it right in your mouth and.
Yeah, and I know ours use water to activate it, right? You need water.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's keep going. What else? Number 6.
Digestive enzymes. So a lot of people can't digest their proteins, fats, and carbs properly, again, just because of our digestive fire. So if you want to take digestive enzymes, like I said, a half an hour before a meal, that will help break it down. And they work really well. Like I even remember doing a little study where I put a digestive enzyme in my daughter's yogurt at the time before we knew she was intolerant to dairy. And it was like liquid. Like that's how much it would break it down. So
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It went from kind of
thick.
Consistency was thick to liquid. That's the digestive enzyme went to work on the sugars.
Yes. So it does help you out in that area.
Good.
Fiber is another thing that I always recommend because most people, I would say all people, don't get enough fiber in their diet. And we need soluble and insoluble fiber in our diet. So, the soluble fiber is going to help feed the probiotics in our gut so we can digest better. The insoluble fiber is going to help scrub down our intestinal lining to like get that, colon moving. So
I heard it explained like this. So there's all these little fibers in the lining of our intestines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll go in and it'll scoop it out and go in and scoop it out and go in and scoop it out. That's how I remember hearing about it in biology class. And that's what I think about. I got to take my fiber and go in and scoop it out. Go in.
Yeah, and which is probably true because really if you're not pooping, it starts to get hard.
Yeah, it just starts to stay in these places. So then these guys can't move and do their job. It's not stinky.
Exactly. And that's the other thing about poop. It should not smell. So if you are really have a foul smelling stool, then you're toxic and things are not flowing. So really it will always have a faint smell, but it should be very faint. It shouldn't be like, whoa, you know how you can walk into the bathroom?
Yeah.
That is a very toxic stool.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Sarah.
Be very faint.
Sorry, go ahead. You just keep going.
The last thing I would say are the new Cell Essentials. Absolutely would recommend those because many who do have intolerances, like food intolerances, are usually deficient in vitamin A, some of the B vitamins, zinc, magnesium. So if you're not getting enough zinc and vitamin A for sure, it just makes you more susceptible to other intolerances and allergies later on. So that's really important. And then zinc plays a role in actually producing hydrochloric acid, which is the acid that we need in our stomach to help digest our food. And a lot of people today are very deficient in zinc. So I would say that's another reason to take the Cell Essentials, as well as vitamin C. Vitamin C can have a dramatic effect on improving your allergies. So whether you have hay fever, whether you have asthma, stuff like that, it will also help with that. And it strengthens your immune system. So especially at this time, of course, if you have children especially and you're running all over the place, you want to make sure their immune system's strong. So again, feeding them the best foods you can, knowing whether or not you have food intolerances. So being mindful of whether you feel, and food intolerances are really hard to diagnose unless you're doing an elimination diet the proper way, or unless you actually go get that blood test done, because you could have a headache 2 days later from something that you ate, not connecting it to that.
How do people follow you? How do I get what are some of the places I can find you to follow what you're so passionate, and I love listening. Like your kale chip recipe the other day was awesome with Brielle. You did that video. How do we find you? Because I really want to spread your word.
So I'm on Facebook quite a bit. So I have a business Facebook page. You could find me at Sarah DeCiccio, Finding Your Wellspot. I think even if you just search Finding Your Wellspot, you should find me. Okay. I'm also on Instagram at Finding Your Wellspot. Okay. And then other than that, really Facebook is my platform right now.
And can people sign up for your email newsletters through Facebook if they send you their email?
Yes, it would be through Facebook that they would have to message me, or you could give them my email, sarahd@usana.com, as well, and I could sign them up. Because right now I've canceled my website, it's gone at the moment. So until I get a little bit more momentum, and I will.
Yeah, you're on your way, girl. You're on your way. Thank you so much. You're invaluable to me. I know I'm always, Sarah, what about this? What about this? What about that? And I love that you don't have all the answers, but that you're researching and you're open, and those are the best. And I love following moms that are passionate about healthy kids, for sure, because that's your first job. But I love the fact that you're just so open to give all this information away and share it and make this place a better place. So thanks for being on my little Zoom meeting here, and I'll send you a recording, and you have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Mwah.